Right.
Please. Ishmael.
Ishmael.
I need to connect. That's all. I don't know where my headset is. No, put that back in. What should I? Move. Bluetooth on. Am I live? Oh, we live on LinkedIn. Cool. Perfect. Good night, folks. Jared Best Michelle. Just give us a sec. Be very Just give me a sec. Don't mind the topic that we have here. Lyndon changed it last minute on me, folks. Not my fault. I'll blame Lyndon. But us on Instagram, loud and clear. Good night to everybody on LinkedIn. Good night to everybody on Instagram. Let me just bring Lyndon in the conversation.
Yeah,
Then,
it says your IG. Yeah, cool.
Right, step up. Let's go. Come on, up. Right. Say it.
LinkedIn Live. Don't forget your tickets for the conference because the conference is on June 15th. Do not forget that. Please listen to me.
Thank you, Zoe. Good night. Oh, of course. Yes, I'll figure that out.
Today was my first day of school and it was excellent. I
enjoyed it. Great. You'll give me. Thank. Good night. Bye. Stephen Renwick. Good night, Stephen.
Stephen, good night. For those of you on Instagram, just let me know if you hear me loud and clear. Because I just switched your Bluetooth mic halfway, so apologies. Stephen Renwick, yes, good night. All right, Lyndon, you switch it up. Just hit us in terms of what the
Jared is right. I just switched the topic on him because I felt that this topic is one that kind of got under my skin over the last couple of days, and it's one that I believe that we should share. So let me talk about what we were going to speak about first, and then we switch it. The first one that we were going to talk about was the role of the sales manager and reinforcing, because something that we are seeing is that sales managers are sometimes not well equipped, or we're going hardcore, sometimes not always the best skilled to even teach their own sales reps. Sometimes the sales reps can teach the manager a couple of things. But we're going to backpedal on that a little bit. And we're going to talk a little bit about legacy sales reps and how they are hurting themselves as it relates to not adapting to how they sell as time went on. So I'll give you the synopsis, Jared.
Preach!
So I'll give you the synopsis, JB. And I've been having a couple conversations with different reps just to understand what people are experiencing. And a lot of people talk about how long they've been in the business. But the challenge is they're using that as an accolade to say, well, yeah, I've been in the business for however long. But when we start talking about your sales numbers don't really represent that level of longevity to your success. In sales, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. What matters in sales is sales. Right?
And you're only as good as your last sale.
And you're only as good as your last month in sales. Right? So the fact of the matter is, and this is my observation, and JB, you'll share your observation as well, is that we do have legacy sales reps trying to hold on to the same way of selling and losing big time. And then what happens is that when they're losing big time, they're now trying to scramble and do little bits of what modern sales strategies are. They may get one or two small wins, but it's not enough because they are not fully invested themselves to learn. Right? So JB, I want to know from you, what has been your experience in speaking to some quote unquote legacy sales reps, right? And in terms of their thinking, because I think sometimes they are really, really stuck in their ways.
You know how I feel about this because we have seen many examples, and sad to say, a lot of it falls into the insurance industry, a lot of it falls in the car sales industry. I get so frustrated when I meet these sales reps, and they always hear from Lyndon in particular. I do prospect, I only work on referrals. And then when they ask them about the referral system, utter crap. That is just, and then again, as you said, it all boils down to your sales. What are your sales? Now, the last month was off. Excuse. And it just frustrates me because you said it best while we were on the break. And look, Stephen Rendrick said it best, 1965.
1965, yeah.
Listen, no, I remember again somebody in the insurance industry, and they were like, "Yeah, back in," and they literally recalled 1962, and I'm like, "Do you realize how much has changed?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like that is 60 years ago. You're talking about, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, Amali, good night. Hey, Laurie, good night.
Good night.
Here's my only issue, right, with the legacy salespeople. I think the word suits it right because legacy means, in a sense, something that was relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It was great at a point in time, and it is no longer relevant. It had a peak period. It's like, how to put it this way, you're like the Mayan Empire. You were great at a point, but what you have no longer exists or relevant to society.
Yes.
And you all have to stop it. But here's a couple of things. Can I say, and you could tell me, actually, no, I'll trade back to you. What do you think is the biggest reason why they've gone into this legacy mode?
Legacy mode?
Yeah,
comfort.
Or why is it not? Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing is comfort. So I was sharing. So after I left the client this morning, I was talking to my daughter about. I was asking my daughter if she understands what a Rolling Stone gains no more means, right? And she said, from what she has heard of it, the most that she can pull is the word comfort, right? And I said, good. I said, that's good. We'll start there. And I told her, comfort is dangerous in sales because people get so comfortable with that type of selling at that time. And here's the thing, JB, they would have legitimately had a successful run. Understand? They would have legitimately had a successful run, selling a high number of cars. And even if they recognize sales was dwindling, it was still enough to sustain them. Yeah? But what has happened is that comfort, that cushion of comfort has expired. It's just as you said, like the Mayan Empire, that is gone, right? So what is happening now is because they were not continuously adapting themselves, being a Rolling Stone, they tend to find themselves playing catch up, or they feel insecure because of relevancy, right? But in sales, your relevance comes down to what? Sales.
That's all it comes down to.
Your relevancy in sales comes down to sales. That's it. You know?
And it's just so sad because the reason why we want to mention this tonight is and this actually ties into the sales leadership aspect here because there are lots of sales leaders who have legacy people on their teams, and they have allowed them to continue with the level of performance that they have, which just keeps dwindling.
Right.
And they've never addressed it. So now, instead of having a buoy on the team, something that floats and brings results, you actually have a anchor, something that's holding back the entire team because these persons don't perform. The performance in terms of what they do never increases or never improves. When they get a sale, as you say, it's a random blue moon event. Sorry to say. And they use that to even run further on of not even performing the following month. So I would say part of it is also to blame to the sales leaders who are not able to get
to guide and push them. Correct. I would.
As your favorite word goes, Lyndon, to coach. So hold on. Good night to Keston Hackett, Visionary Abe, Tanya Khan, good night, Anna Banana. But yes, and it goes to your favorite word, and a lot of sales leaders don't coach. They just manage.
Yeah, they just manage.
They're not even managing the decline in numbers. They're just managing the numbers however they are.
That's correct.
So
yeah.
So let me ask you this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was just going to use myself as an example, and I'm pretty sure that you will connect with this because I think we were speaking about this on the break. So, guys, just to let you all know, I started in sales in 2003. My first actual sales role was in 2003. But I was a Rolling Stone. But I can recognize that how I sold in 2003 was different in 2013, which was 10 years after. And from 2013, and I had moved from, in 2003, I'd moved from automotive sales. Then by 2013, I was actually in Massey doing corporate sales, consultative. As I was now being introduced to the whole consultative type selling thing. And the way that I sold then is way different. I know I still use a lot of those strategies and techniques philosophically, but sometimes the execution of those things now, the tools that I use now is so different. in 2022, just 1 year short of 20 years of a full 20 years. You know, so the point that we're making here, folks, is sales is one of those ever evolving things. And one of the biggest contributors to that evolution is technology. It's two actually two big contributors: technology and the age of your buyer. Because here's the interesting thing, right, JB? It's like I remember doing corporate sales and managing my team at one time, and they were saying to me, the person who that they were selling to retired, right? So the person who was in charge of selling the copier to or selling that Microsoft solution to at that time, no longer there. And I was using that as a point to say that's why you cannot have just one contact person in the organization, or you need to be consistently understanding who this new person is, because they are going to be coming in years younger. The person who left may have been in their 60s. The way that they communicated and everything else is different. What does this new contact person need? And how do you now need to start the process of connecting with them and selling to them? Because that's a whole different buyer profile. You know?
No,
so
absolutely right.
Yeah. So
No,
it's go ahead, sorry, finish.
No, so when I think of legacy buyers now, so here's I think we should talk about how quickly to identify them, and then what do we recommend in terms of helping a legacy buyer fix in terms of what they're doing. So as you heard us mention before, I think when you look at a legacy buyer, let's just put it this way. Look for the person I think who's the least tech savvy, or actually not even tech savvy, tech resistant on your team. Right? Look for somebody who always has a story about sometime in the past. What is that flying around? Then what you have to look at now, of course, with all legacy persons, is a lackluster performance. Right? And then I think what you have to go back now to and look in terms of how you can help this individual. And actually, no, let me ask you what you want to add to it. And for anybody who's listening, thanks for listening tonight. Let us know what are some of the things you noticed from a company or even an individual that you would describe as a legacy salesperson. Let us know in the chat and drop it in for us.
So you actually started off with exactly where I was going to start off. I would always try to identify the person who is least open to the changing the way that they actually sell.
Right.
I did have two guys yesterday who told me about they told me last week they were talking to me about, no, we get a lot of business from referrals and we do a lot of business through WhatsApp. And I was like, all right, cool, but how the sales going? Wouldn't you want more sales? Yeah, well, everybody would want more sales, right? So anyone who's in a mode of not making that adjustment, what the sales manager has to identify, so to piggyback on your point, and I'll just speak maybe of the role of the organization or the sales manager, is figuring out if you need to keep that person. Because the organization, listen to me, the organization needs to be selling differently. Not just your salespeople, the organization's approach to business, to these new generation of buyers, or these buyers with these new ways of purchasing, the organization has to adapt to that. And if your sales reps are not adapting to that, then that sales rep can't be there anymore. Now, you could think of repurposing them if their knowledge is valuable enough to contribute to the new structure of your sales team. If not, then unfortunately you had to figure out, you had to work your way out of that.
Well, we know most companies not getting rid of them. Thank you for the applause who gave it on Linden points. Give us a little thumbs up so let us know. But I think that's another hardship that we need to realize with the whole concept behind these legacy sellers. Because there's some who are great. Like, I mean, if you look, and again, we draw reference because it's who we're working with. If you look at people who might be in real estate for years and always selling on top, people who insurance for years and always selling on top, that's different. That's like great legacy. That's the people who current and relevant. If you look at Amali's saying unwilling to let go of control at each stage of the sales process, unwilling to automate. Yes.
Yeah. And that's sometimes a fear of they think that maybe the technology is going to make them irrelevant and not actually help them do what they want to do. So yeah, that's a solid point.
And I actually spoke about it today with a client who's in HR. It comes from the succession planning. So a lot of them feel that if they give up the information to a system, as you said, they lose out. And that actually puts their job at risk, but it actually gives them the time to focus on selling more.
Yeah.
Just saying, folks.
Yeah.
So how about what do you actually, how does a sales leader now fix somebody who's being identified as a legacy salesperson? Because the last point I would identify as a legacy salesperson, they've probably been in the organization, I would say 7 to 10 years or more.
Well, first, let's hope that the problem doesn't start with having a legacy sales leader, right? Right, and then from there, yeah. Then I think the next step from there would be, so for me, any changes that I have ever made in terms of my sales team, I always started repeating. I started with repetition.
Right.
I started repeating the things that we need to do, and I started looking for the low-hanging fruit, quick wins, right? The little things that some of the sales reps needed to do that can start changing their mind about, right? So instead of going into this big grandiose change, I would try to find the little things that they can start doing now. So whether I would have given them like before, back in the days, the guys used to go out, my guys used to go out and they feel a lot. I told them, listen, let's not do that a lot. Let's craft the emails in a particular way. Let's do an outreach to the customer, look for the feedback, or continuously keep rewriting some of the emails and get the responses. And that started to happen to the point where a lot of the outreach started to become emails. Instead of now wasting time going out in the field to try to walk in to meet with somebody who doesn't have the time or just generally not there. You know? So once they started to see those things.
So can you say, I wouldn't say, I would put it this way, a way to avoid becoming a legacy person is to always be coachable. And you said it back then when you said, how you sell in 2003 is different from 2013 is different from now.
Yes.
Because if you sell using the same methods, and we'll say you're not tracking what your performance is,
yes,
or you find yourself making less money, you fall into being a legacy salesperson, my friend.
Yeah.
And again, that could be very frustrating to anybody who is, especially a new person who's on the team. That is probably going to cause a lot of frustration simply because you're just going to be either pulled into your culture of non-performance or to be frustrated and leave because you're wondering why somebody like this still exists in the organization.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I like the point that you made there with the culture because of the fact that, you will be fostering a bad sales culture because anybody that's going to be new coming in, who are you going to allow them to do ride-alongs with? Who are you going to allow them to do sit-downs and learn from? Especially if the manager isn't that champion of what the new way of selling is supposed to be.
Yeah, so they come in, they learn from the legacy salesperson who most likely has the time because they do have the meetings.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure if you remember. I'm not sure if you remember. Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember when we were doing a sales engagement with some managers for an automotive dealership in San Fernando. The sales manager was telling us that one of her challenges was she had two specific sales reps who were kind of waiting out the last 3 years. So they had 3 years before they retired.
Yes.
They had good portfolios, but they weren't working the portfolios because
they didn't want to give up the portfolios.
They want to give up exactly. They want to give up the portfolios. So why don't you just take it from them? How am I as a sales manager responsible for that level of what you want to call it, boy? Lackluster performance. I can't work with that. Yeah. So
I think that's why, funny enough, if we steered from the topic, it actually makes sense because the issue with legacy salespeople falls directly with sales managers and the sales leaders.
Yes.
Because
correct.
That's the way. So let me ask this without divulging too much detail. What caused you to bring up this topic? What in particular you saw that made you to say, nah, this
it was a conversation I was having with mixed people in a group. And let's say on the left side, there was some like legacy sales reps, and on the right side, they had some younger folks. And a couple of them were talking about how, they were talking about their glory days and selling, and I did start to ask some pointed questions as to like how has your sales been dropping? Like what is your sales numbers then and what are your sales numbers now? And when they started to share the numbers, I was asking them, well, what has been changing? They were unable to pinpoint what has been changing until I told them what is changing is the way that your buyer is buying and how you selling to them.
Oh.
You understand?
So
Because a lot of them,
realize.
yeah, oh, I was getting a lot of referrals from WhatsApp. Okay, well, how much of those referrals are converting to close opportunities?
They don't
Well,
know.
you
How much
know,
referrals they get in a day?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
How
you
much?
know,
I don't know.
yeah, it's
Oh,
still
so
not
let's
enough.
put that in. Let's put that in. Not only are they tech resistant. Hyperion, good night. Son, need a favor from you. So I'm asking you as I see you one time. So I'll message you. But think about it this way, right? When they don't know their numbers, it's a
Yeah.
direct sign that they haven't even themselves noticed what the decline is.
What the decline is. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
something
So
simple.
yeah, so exactly, and again, it comes down to it really again, and why would they not know their numbers? Who's responsible for keeping their numbers in front of them? The sales manager, the sales leadership. Yeah. So those are the important key components to um again an organization continuously evolving, because get this right, an organization is only going to be as modern as the sales team and the sales
Oh, I love
leadership.
that.
Yeah. So if you really holding on to old school sales reps and you're not bringing in some of the younger folks and adopting new technologies and sort of repurposing these salespeople, these older salespeople, then you're going to find yourself consistently trying to sell the same way, and your buyer, you're not going to be connecting better with your buyers. You're going to be leaving rooms for a younger, faster, more hip looking, trendier looking um, competitor to start pulling the attention away from your organization.
But you've seen that happening. You've seen it
Yes.
happening in many industries.
Yes. Yes.
So and actually you saw legacy persons die off. I'm sorry to say the word, especially last 2 years because of the pandemic. Simply because again, as you said, the buyers' buying habit changed in terms of how they buy, and then they were resistant and unwilling to adapt to that.
To adapt. That's
So
correct.
they just literally died off. That's why
Yeah.
some of them went into retirement in many industries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Correct.
we hope by
Yeah.
mentioning some of these things that lets you realize from your end what if you might be turning into a legacy salesperson in your organization. One of the things I highly recommend to you is that you need to start being more adaptable and open to technology. Good night, Renee. Good night, and admin Miz. We're talking about legacy salespeople in your company. So, yeah.
Sorry. Stephen said you're going to start selling cars. So yeah, Stephen Renwick said you're going to start selling cars.
Stephen is down here in Trinidad, or Stephen is.
I don't know. This is Stephen Renwick.
Tell us where you're from.
Yeah.
And tell us and give us a little more expansion on when they have to be contextual, because I mean, and anyway, as I say, most of them got impacted severely when it was the pandemic, and it's really because they were in that mode of legacy. I mean, and this applies to companies too as well. Of course, because Lyndon and I have been in companies, like when we did like the initial discovery phase, and we were asking our discovery questions, and we left the meeting, and both of us said at the same time, "How's that come? That company's only open because of the name." At any moment in time, something could disrupt them and stop them from selling, as in losing the numbers. Stephen is from Trinidad. And the thing is what a lot of y'all don't realize, and I observe this a lot. You'll hear companies talk about sales drop and this impact and that impact, and you might think how that happened all of a sudden. I literally just say
it wasn't all of a sudden.
Questions.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all at once, because for example, what have you done new to appeal to how your buyers buy today? Nothing.
Yes.
What have you done to upsell and upskill your team in terms of the new methods to make sure they can meet the buyer's demands? Nothing. What new technology have you given your team to help them? Nothing. Nothing. What new ways have you shown them how to prospect and get business? Nothing.
Nothing.
So they're in this mode of legacy. It's like put it this way. It's like if you're working for a pager company and you're still living on that high from the pager days.
Yeah. Trying to sell pages in this day and age.
It's a hard thing.
So that was just funny. So yeah.
No, it's like think about it. Even our friends. I mean, it's not to knock them, but when you look at something, actually, here's a perfect example, and it shows how you have to adjust. Let's look at our friends in the media industry. I know that kind of touchy right now, given the things we do today.
Right.
But let's face it, good night or some graphic artists. Let's give an example, right? When you look at the media industry, they have been severely impacted over the last 5 years or more because of what is happening with social media, traditional media versus print media. What
Yes.
I think has severely impacted them more was the leadership, more than the actual product itself. Because the
Yes.
leadership was holding on to what it was, and I saw it in a webinar recently, Linda. There's a webinar where a leader in a traditional media house was presented. I shared it with LaShawn and I literally laughed of how they spoke at it. Like they literally said traditional media is better than social media because traditional media free. And I'm like,
What?
what? I literally recorded that clip and sent it for LaShawn. I was like, LaShawn, listen to what they're saying. And so it again, that goes back to when you're holding on to a legacy or
Legacy.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I mentioned it to you. I spoke to it about it with Joel Pemberton. We were talking about, and this is again, we talk about everything legacy in sales. And I was talking about the fact that some companies have not realized that their products have a legacy or end of life. So no matter how much money
Yes.
you throw at it or analysis or you switch around the product, its end of life has come with the consumer. The legacy is over. And a lot of people not recognizing it. So there's so many things involved with this. Like you just open up a can of worms as I start thinking about stuff
Yeah.
there,
No, for
but
real. For real.
it
You,
literally is a whole bunch of things,
yeah.
folks.
You know a big like an experience I had because of legacy sales reps, right? I moved it. I was brought into an organization and I took a middle management role in the organization. And that had some friction because people felt who were there from so long. Some guys were there since the age of 17, right? So they were like 30 something now, right? So they started off at 17, they were 30 something now. I was around the same age with them. But so they couldn't understand, well, why would the organization bring someone in, right, to basically do the same role? And I had to tell the guy that it is really not the same role. I said, when they looked at the experience of what you have done, because you've done the same thing over 17 years, the
So
organization
you
not looking
have
for
1 year
somebody to,
experience.
yeah, the organization isn't looking for somebody to come into, isn't looking to bring somebody in to do the same thing. They're looking for somebody who has a wealth of experience in different industries, who can now bring some additional added value. And that sometimes to, again, same explanation I was talking to with my daughter about the Rolling Stone today. And I was sharing with her, at her age, it's not a bad idea to move around, right? I moved
I told
around
my
a number.
daughter that this weekend.
Yeah, I moved around a number of times in my career, and then I settled in one organization for 10 years. But by me settling in that organization, I had a wealth of experience before I got that position. So I
Yep.
brought more value to the organization because of my experience at that level. And that is why, again, and I came as a sales rep. So even if people are looking from a sales from a sales rep into a sales leadership standpoint, again, you have to continuously keep learning, investing in yourself, JB, because we know that sales reps don't always invest in themselves financially,
Yeah, boy.
right?
Woo.
And also just look at you continuously learning and developing, because again, a rolling stone grows no moss. You
I
understand?
say it.
Yeah, you'll be a gem. Good night, Jason.
Good,
Hey, excellent stuff on
good night,
TikTok,
Lee
my friend.
Marie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it's just, I mean, you open up so many things. You're just talking about the reps itself, but legacy reps just expand into so many other things
Yes.
that I think you have to identify it. It's not just in business. It can be specific to products. It can be specific to the individuals.
And yeah, yeah,
But it
yeah.
goes back to your topic that you didn't want to talk about. A lot of it still just boils back down to sales leadership.
Leadership.
I tell you, and then I real laugh listening to that webinar. You know, when I saw the presentation, it's like social media, traditional media is still free. I'm like, the arguments behind it is just,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you know what's funny about it though? You like the statistics show the decline in people spend in your
spending,
traditional
and
and
they go
increase in
into.
the other. So you're ignoring plain facts, trying to
Mhm.
hold on to something. And that should be another one too that the legacy people do. They talk about what worked, past
Yes,
tense,
they hold on to
worked,
that.
not
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
working.
You know, like your old uncle in the legacy days. Oh, I remember this and I remember that. You remember, no, that's gone.
Just not that. It's like,
Talking about
listen, horse and carriage is the best type of transport. It was.
it was.
It was. It's
Yeah.
not now.
Yep.
It was. It was really great back then. It was.
Yeah.
But now it's
Yep.
like just now you start saying gas powered cars was the best thing.
Was the best thing.
Was.
Yeah.
Now electric.
Oh, I saw I saw the new model. Oh my god, what is it? The Honda. What's that? Was that SUV?
Or the Kona.
No, it wasn't all electric. It's the new Honda.
Santa
Oh
Fe.
man, now forget it. It's the crossover, but I can't remember the name of it now. Even my daughter, it caught my daughter's attention this morning, and not too long that CRV came out. So
Or the HRV. So yeah.
HRV,
But
you know.
folks, let
So
us know. Let us know. Are you seeing anything legacy in your organization? Let's hope some of the tips we dropped tonight and some
Vezel.
feedback.
Thank you, Stephen.
Vezel.
The new
What's
Vezel is
Vezel?
out. Oh my god, that is beautiful. The front. Yeah.
Ah.
The front of it has changed. Hey,
Oh,
Keto.
Peter says something. It's difficult to get. Oh, let's pop this up on the screen. I love this. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it. Ooh.
And he's quoting there Upton Sinclair. So I actually have to go and look for that. But I really do appreciate that, Keto.
That Peter there is a white glove slap to some legacy salesperson. That's a white glove slap. You see that there? That's a white, and then it's just end the meeting.
Yeah, no, can you put that back up again? I think that let that marinate there a little bit, because that is a really that is a really strong statement. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon him or not understanding it. So yeah, but you see too, as it relates to sales, sometimes it's not even his. Yeah, because if he's consistently making that income, he's just going to stick with that, right? Unless he's driven by some trigger to push, if we will, what Keita is saying here, to push towards making that change to earning because it's affecting his salary. You understand? Or it's affecting his income.
People work on commissions. If you're making less commission, something had to be bothering you.
Well, remember, not all salespeople work on commission. Some are heavily based out, as opposed to. Because remember, last year we had a conversation with an enterprise organization with a base salary, commissions are
living on their base and not even making any commission anymore.
They're not trying to make commissions anymore. So yeah, again, as I say, that when Keita put that up there, that stuck with me. Yeah. That is powerful.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have my other phone up. I'm screen grabbing this because that is. Nah, you wouldn't know that one because that's a white glove. That's a white glove slap to somebody's face.
Yeah. That's powerful, man. I really appreciate it.
No sales rep liking you for saying that about them.
Yeah.
So yeah, this way. But folks, thank you as always for joining us. You know the drill. We have the conference coming up. We're still on board a couple of sponsors. So look out for the first week in May when we start announcing all our sponsors for the conference. We are also Stephen, we've seen all of the cars. I'm seeing a lot of details passing.
From Stephen? Yeah. Possibly.
Yes.
Possibly, yeah.
Don't forget, folks, we have early bird tickets available for the conference right now. If you want to get early bird now, because your price is probably going to, I think it's going back up by about 50% when we finish it at the end of this month.
Yes.
So budget it into your salary because it will be going up. There are 3 events in total. You don't want to miss any of them because you're all fantastic. A C-level, a C-suite breakfast, a main event, and then a woman in workshop. You know how we do it. We want to bring as much value as possible, and we definitely want to make sure and maximize on these things. So thank you to everybody who's been purchasing the tickets so far early because they know the value. But trust me, don't message me, don't ask me in London after me when we first start about anything about early bird tickets.
Yeah, what I'll do, let me just give you all the numbers, right? So early bird tickets for the conference right now is at $300, which is $44 US, right? And that is virtual. That's virtual, right? Early bird in-person tickets where we could only accept between 60 to 80 people at, I guess we could talk about the location. I was actually going to be at the Hilton, right? Yeah, I think we sign off. I think you're secretary on that actually, right? Yeah, no, Tisha, right. That is $500. So the in-person early bird tickets right now is $500. And the early bird virtual tickets are $300. Those things end on the 30th of April. What is the price going to be when we, well, after there's, excuse me, virtual is just going to go up to, I think it's 350. But your in-person is going to go up to $799, people. There's another price that I want you all to pay attention to, especially for the women. For the women's event, if you all didn't know, we are bringing someone by the name of Liz J. Simpson, powerful speaker, international speaker, LinkedIn top,
if you know who it is.
LinkedIn top voices on as it relates to sales, as it relates to LinkedIn, etc., etc. We are running a bundle for her. So if it is that you are a woman and you want to come to that woman event, she's done big money movement. She's done a number of things as it relates to sales coming out of, is it Houston, Texas, JB? Right, she is going to be here in person, and we are running a $1,200 bundle where you get the in-person conference and Liz's event at the same time, which has $173 US. That's a lot, and they're all workshop related. So we decided to kind of push ourselves a little bit this year. Instead of just doing one day from 8 or from 9 to 3. We are going to split this thing. We were actually supposed to do something like this a couple of years ago, but now
the timing is here.
The timing is better, I believe. You know?
Much better. And let us know, are you ready for in-person event? I think a lot of persons want an in-person event. I'm just guessing. Let us know. Let's see.
Yep.
Yes. Liz in person, yeah.
In person. What? Oh, JB, would we be confirming with them the mixer?
Yes. Wednesday, the 27th of April. It is going to be at One Woodbrook Place by Deckies.
Deckies.
I have to talk to Deckies tomorrow, but
all right, cool.
No doubt. So we should be okay. It's not an issue.
Right. And here's the reason why we're doing that. We have not been able to do an in-person mixer for, as you all know, the last 2 years. And that has been a big thing for us, because with instances like these, it's always nice to meet the people that we're speaking to virtually, right? So folks who would have been connecting with us via Instagram or LinkedIn, we normally have this instance where we would put together in networking events to meet the people. So we really want to capitalize on this now and meet you guys. Yeah?
Yep.
So, yep.
Let us know. We'll put out that event on LinkedIn so you all can add your name and everything like that, so we can meet you all. But yeah, we just having an in-person mixer event. I think one of the things we'll be focusing on is just talking about what the states of sales have been so far.
Right now, exactly.
And then of course we network and we meet each other, because that's one of the best things about the networking.
It's aligned. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
All right. So thanks so much for joining us, folks. It's been a good live. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Always for the feedback. Shout out to Stephen and everybody else. But stay tuned for another one next week, where we talk always sales, everything sales.
All right, guys. Take care.
Every day.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Hey, what did I do?